reality has changed, unfortunately. You know, today we have Europe providing Ukraine with long-range strike capacity, the very kind of capacity that Russia put the United States on notice in January of 2022, Russia will not tolerate at all. That is, they said, we will not allow NATO missiles on Ukrainian soil that can strike into the Russian depth. Well, today we have NATO missiles on Ukrainian soil striking into the Russian depth. The Flamingo, the FP5, is a British-made missile using German guidance equipment brought to their target by American and NATO intelligence. Without this, Ukraine would not have this weapon. Ukraine's other weapons are using corridors that go through Poland into the Baltic so they can strike in the vicinity of St. Petersburg, or through Kazakhstan so they can strike into the strategic depth. You know, we have the Karaganov doctrine. Sergei Karaganov is a noted political scientist, a longtime advisor to Vladimir Putin. In 2023, and speaking about the war, he said that it's time for Russia to strike Europe directly, and that Russia should use its nuclear arsenal to send the message to Europe that you're playing with fire. He said he didn't believe that the United States would trade Boston for Poznan, meaning that if Russia put a nuclear weapon into Poznan, a polar city, that the United States wouldn't do anything, wouldn't commit suicide over this point. Vladimir Putin responded, "That's not my doctrine. I don't agree with Sergei Karaganov." That was in 2023. In 2024, though, Vladimir Putin brought Sergei Karaganov in to advise on how to reformulate Russia's strategic posture, nuclear deterrence posture. And in 2025, Russia issued a new nuclear doctrine that said the following: if nuclear-armed states provide conventional strike capacity to a non-nuclear state and use that to strike the strategic depth of Russia, Russia will have to use nuclear weapons preemptively against that threat. That is the exact scenario that exists today. The exact scenario. The Karaganov doctrine is alive and well and living and breathing. And if Europe doesn't understand how close they are to receiving a Russian nuclear weapon, they need to reformulate this. This is as serious as it gets. Read the Russian nuclear doctrine promulgated in the fall of 2025, and then read the lead up to it and understand what I'm talking about is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Here, it's time to tell the world that Ukraine is writing checks that NATO and the United States can't cash, that Russia will execute its doctrine. They may not start off with nuclear weapons. In fact, I believe they won't. But, you know, the Oreshnik missile has only been used singly, but it is known, based upon what the Russians have said and what intelligence implies, that if you use a massive erection, let's just call it a regiment's worth, 3 battalions, 3 missiles each, 9 missiles, striking Bankova, the district of Kiev, it will cease to exist, and the damage that will be done will mimic that of a nuclear weapon. And that's the fate that awaits Ukraine. That is the fate that awaits Germany, England, France, all of Europe. And also, we need to also point out that 2 days ago, Russia put 1,500 plus drones in the air over Ukraine. The reason why we're able to do that is Russia's producing over 1,000 drones a day. They've never used more than 600 of them. Normal rate of expenditure is 250 to 300 a day. That means they're banking away over 500 drones a day. They've been doing that now for more than 2 years. 500 times 600 gives you a hell of a lot of drones. Russia will be able to blacken the skies of Europe for 3 straight months with drones that Europe can't shoot down. This is the direction this conflict is going. And it's stupid because Vladimir Putin didn't go for the kill. You know, you've spoken to the people that are frustrated. Why doesn't he go for the kill? Because that's not who he is, and that's not what Russia is. Russia is not the United States. Russia doesn't, do the things we do. But we have backed Russia into a corner so that it is now an existential question of survival. If Russia fails to take action, it's not embarrassing, it's fatal. And so Russia will take action, and I think it's going to be sooner rather than later.